Good evening, guys. So this is our day two. Okay. So in day one, we discussed about the basic fundamental of the network in security. So in day two, we are going to be cover why telnet is not preferred protocol to take the remote. Okay. Second, we are going to discuss about SSH protocol today and how we can take normal HTTP or HTTP access of a Cisco IS device. Okay. And then we will start about the management protection of the network devices, right? Okay, so these are the point for the day. So in first class we discussed about telnet protocol. So could you tell guys why telnet is not preferred for remote access? Is there any specific reason behind it? As we know, telnet is this is used to take remote session of the device. Okay, so whenever we want to take the remote session, we can use telnet, and telnet is the TCP based protocol, right? This is TCP based protocol, and port number is, what is the port number guys? 23, right? At transfer. And TCP shares data in plain text format. So if anyone in the network and want to capture your data, so they can easily see what you have configured on the device, what passwords. So every confidential detail will be visible in the captured. Okay. So for an example, okay, so this is your laptop and you have here one device or network device, maybe router. Okay, for an example, and you initiated the telnet connection to take the remote of the router. And as we know, telnet is TCP based for reliability purpose, but what about the security? So whatever you will ask from router in telnet will give you telnet data. Okay, in telnet data maybe you configured such command, or maybe your passwords are configured by you. Okay, that is maybe Cisco. So these passwords also visible in the capture data. Okay, so that we want to see today. So I have already uh, my virtual lab running. So let me take the console of my device. One thirty, 129. Okay, so I have already two routers here, R1 and R2. So R1 is my client and R2 is my server. So just for the name, okay, because I'm using R1 to take remote of R2, or I can use my laptop also, that is possible. So I need to connect it through my virtual adapters of laptop, and then I can achieve it. Okay. So let's start on R2. So we can see first what configuration exists on R2. Okay. I think console is visible to everyone, guys. If you have any challenge, please let me know. IP address is not configured, so I need to configure IP address again on this interface. Last time we used 12.2 IP on router. Okay. And even I need to enable the telnet configuration under the line VTY, because line VTY configuration is not exist. Line VTY 0 to 4 mistake, transport input telnet, and we need to configure the login password. Password is Cisco. Okay. So once we are done here, and I need to configure one enable password, because you need to configure enable password also whenever you are trying to access the device. Okay, leave it for now. I will show you why. Okay, so what we did, we configured the line VTY configuration, and where we defined the transport input protocol is telnet. So you can take device access through line VTY. Line VTY means virtual terminal. If anyone is virtually going to access the device, so they will hit on this line VTY. Okay, and under line VTY, if you remember, I told you 0 to 4 means how many device or how many clients can take remote of the router at a time. So how many clients can take remote at a time?
5.
0 to 4 is 5, right? So 5 devices. And what is the meaning of login? Anyone? Because I
To
informed
access
you about login. Yeah,
to access
login
to
means
It was for
device will,
authentication.
access to the
yeah,
device.
right. So login means device is asking about password, and password we configured here already, right? That is Cisco. And the last command is transport input means on line VTY your telnet protocol is allowed to take the remote of router, right? So I think these three commands are clear to everyone. If you want to ask, please ask about any of the command if that is not clear. Password is required to log in the router, because if any command you will see like a login under your line VTY, that means device must ask about a password. So whenever R1 is going to take telnet, so it will say telnet 12.1.1.2. So at that time, R1 initiate your TCP connection, 3-way handshake, and after that telnet data. So whenever you are trying to hit R2 for this IP address for telnet, so R2 will say, okay, login means you have to put password here. So it will ask about password, right? So if you have not configured password on this device first, so you will not eligible to enter any password. Why? Because you need to define this command. Login means this command must be here. Okay. So if password is configured underline VTY, then you can put password, right? And this command means telnet is allowed. If there is nothing telnet or like, so still if you try to hit to take telnet, you will not eligible to take telnet. Why? Because telnet protocol is not allowed. So normally by default is transport input none. You will see this command. None means neither telnet or nor SSH, right? So any one of protocol is not allowed here. So you have to allow this protocol separately, or you can allow both of them at a one time. So that is your wish. Okay. So now let's come with the configuration part. So we did, but if you remember, I have not configured any password here in my enable password. If you check show run, so under show run, you have host and like the default configuration, whatever exists on the device, but enable password is not exist in this configuration. Okay. But whenever you try to access the device, you will face a challenge. And what is the challenge? We will see. So now I'm connecting with R1. So on R1 also, I guess IP is configured this time. And I will do one more thing. Last time our capturing was not working. So I'm going to right click on the router. And here in capture section, I will capture each 0 by 0. Why? Because R1 0 by 0 interface is connected with R2. So right click here, capture the exact interface where you want to capture the data. Just a minute. Okay, the capturing is working. So just you can see the normal packets are start receiving. And now I will initiate the connection. Move to R1, show IP, interface, brief. So we can see 12.1 is configured, and try to ping first of all for reachability. Yeah, it's reachable. Okay. And now I can start with telnet 12.1.2. So you can see I configure telnet command on R1. So that means R1 is trying to take telnet connection of R2. Session is open. Okay. Session is open, and now you are eligible to put your password. So this password is whatever you configured under the line VTY, that is Cisco. So password will be visible here, whatever you are going to be type, or there will be nothing like star star star, because star 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 also give you idea like how many digits exist in your password. So that is also not good for security reason. Now you are under R2. So if you want to configure anything, you have to move in enable mode, in privilege mode, but you can see there is no password set. What is the meaning of that? Anyone have idea about it? I tried to access through enable command on R2 privilege mode, but privilege mode is giving me error, no password set. Okay.
Means like sir, in different mode we can apply password over that also.
Uh, okay, let me tell you.
Means a remote
See,
user is able to only see the show command, or is it able to configure the router or not?
mhm.
For
Okay,
that
what is the
also.
meaning of this? Okay, let me tell you. Maybe right now you will not get that exactly what I'm saying, but maybe give me some time. After a few minutes, you will get my point. Okay, not right now. Maybe everyone is not about aware with this thing. So there is one thing that is known as privilege level, right? So anyone have idea about privilege level? So privilege level is from 0 to 15. So I should not tell you right now, but to understand this thing. So that means if you have privilege 15, that means you have full access of device. Are you getting my point? If I say you have privilege 15, that means you are eligible to access any command on router. You can configure anything. You can delete any configuration, right? So that means privilege 15 means full access of the device. So whenever you try to hit enable command, that means directly you are asking about privilege 15. If you configure just this command and after that you are not going to put anything, so automatically this is going to tell you, okay, you are asking about privilege level 15. So that means if you want to access the device and you want to access full configuration of the device, there should be some password that must be asked after this command. Because how would you make sure the authorized person is trying to access the device, right? But there are more features we can use that to make sure authorized person is only eligible to access this command, not the unauthorized person. Or maybe like you have multiple engineers, like if you know, we have L1 engineer, L2 engineer, and L3. So normally L3 engineer have full access of the device. L1 have only just tshoot commands, right, to troubleshoot the configuration. L2 have medium level of the commands, like some troubleshooting command, some configuration command, right? So that's why Cisco makes sure if you are going for enable, that means you are asking about privilege level 15. So if I don't put here 15, doesn't mean still this is the same thing. So that's why you need to use here password. So whenever we are going to configure telnet, we need to configure enable password or enable secret password. Okay, that is your privilege 15 password. If you check show privilege, currently privilege is 1, and using enable command you are asking for privilege 15. Are you getting my point? That means you are on a lower level. Okay, and after this enable command you are asking about a higher level. So how router will make sure that thing? So that's why we are moving on R2. And if I'm going to type here, say enable password, right now we can type the password and even you can define the level. So right now if I'm giving level, so this is giving me idea for level. But if I don't give level here, just normal password, so this password is also eligible for level 15. Are you getting my point? The hash means this is just a description. Okay, this is not a command. Okay, because I put here hash, that means this is indicating this is not a command. If I try it directly like this 15, it will give me error. Why? Because router will say, oh, understand this is command, but this command is not available on the device or on device operating system. So just hash to say something or to indicate something, I use that command. Okay. But the main command is enable password, which is Cisco. So right now, if I'm trying here enable, the password is required here, and you put Cisco, and you are eligible to access the R2 right now, right? That means you have full access. If you say show privilege, and you will see you have level 15, that means you have full access of the device. Is that clear to everyone? Amit,
Yes.
Yes.
Sunil?
Yes.
Okay, great. So guys, if you have any doubt, Siva, please you can ask. Okay. So just we discussed about that, like that how you configure the talent. Last time also we discussed, but this is something new. So in today lecture we will discuss in detail about privilege level, the concept of privilege level. Okay, but in detail. Don't worry about that. So the my point was about talent. The traffic is not secure whenever you are going to configure any command. Like I configured this command, right? I want to configure other interface. I configured the interface, and just assume this is the command, right? So I try to push some configuration. Okay, so is this configuration visible in my packets, in telnet packets? Yeah, this must be visible, because R1 sending all these commands via remote to R2, and at that time R2 is giving you this space, right, on R1 router. If I exit, see I am on R1, but I was on R2 remotely, and I did this configuration remotely. And for this configuration, I make here no shutdown the interface, and you can see the interface is no shutdown on R2, because logs are visible on normal device, because on remote logs are not visible. Remote device logs are disabled by default. That's why we don't have any log, like interface is not shut down, line protocol is up. Okay, because on console you have logs, not on the remote console. So you can enable that if you want. Okay, but we will see at the time of syslog these things. Now you can check R to have configuration. Okay, the interface is not connected, that's why visible as down. But let's check the packets here. So this is the real thing we want to explore here. So these are the telnet packets. So R2 sending to R1. Let's open it. Wait a minute, where I can get the actual data. This data is in the byte. Seriously? Expand all. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm not using the right way to see the talent data. Collapse, expand, copy. There was something to see the data visible all items. Wait. Just give me a minute. Mm, yeah. See, I think is this visible to everyone, guys? So this is under that. If you click on any packet, okay. So there is flow. Under flow, you have TCP stream. So you have to see that. Now let me zoom in. Now you can see we try to enter the device and we put the password Cisco, right? After that, R2 is available. We put the commands, okay. And after we tried, there was no password, and we enabled. We see the privilege level. So you can see every command is visible, which we tried on R1, on R2 remote session, right? So show commands are visible, show privilege command was visible, and after that we enabled the password was not there, and then we configured the password Cisco. So privilege level password is also visible here, right? And after that we tried some privilege level command again 15, and after that we configured the interface is 011, right? And we no shut down the interface, right? This command is visible here. And we tried IP address, okay. And yeah, so every command is visible here, whatever we did there. So that's why telnet traffic is not secure. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. If this is clear, now what we have instead of telnet, what we can do if we don't want to use telnet, so we have another protocol to take the remote of devices. And what is the name of protocol, guys?
SSH.
SSH.
SSH, correct. So the second protocol is here SSH. The name is secure shell, right? So secure shell is also TCP based protocol. And the port number is, what is the port number?
22.
22.
22, right? And why we say SSH is secure? What we are getting additional thing in SSH? Any idea?
It is encrypted. Data is
Okay.
encrypted.
It's
So
encrypted
yes,
that? Yeah.
right. So data is encrypted, right?
Mhm.
How this data is encrypted? Because SSH is using keys, right? To encrypt the data, to encrypt the data, right? So SSH is using keys. Keys means those are generated by device, or we can generate by ourselves, okay, using some algorithm. So that is depend on the version of SSH that we are going to discuss. So using key, your data will encrypted in a format, so whenever it will transport through the links, if anyone try to capture that data, they will not visible exact information, because there are some public and private keys which is exchanged in SSH process. So if once client and server have those key, okay, like client is sending some key to server and server have some keys, so they are exchanging the keys basically, okay. The methods are different to exchange the key in version 1 and version 2 of SSH. So this is client and this is server, so they are sending some keys to each other, okay. So after exchanging these keys, like they are calculating a different idea to exchange the keys as key also. Like if we have attacker here, so if attacker try to get this key, still attacker will not get this key. Why? Because they have some mechanism, or they have some calculation methods like Diffie-Hellman, right? If you anyone knows about that, Diffie-Hellman. So Diffie-Hellman is a method which calculates multiple keys, right? And exchange those keys between client and the server. So Diffie-Hellman that we are going to discuss at the time of VPN in more detail. Okay, at the time of VPN, we will explore about Diffie-Hellman in detail, because there is a methodology how devices are calculating public and private key. So that is also used in IPsec, right? So that is under the VPN section. So that time we will explain or we will discuss in more detail. Okay. So right now we are talking about here SSH, and as we know, SSH is a secure protocol to take the remote, right? Now we have multiple versions of SSH. Anyone know about SSH versions? Any idea how many versions exist for SSH and what is the difference? Okay, normally SSH have two versions, version 1 and SSH version 2, right? So version 1 is not much secure. Why? Because it use DS. Okay, these are the algorithms to calculate the key. 3DS, okay, like 3 times DS. And there was one more to encrypt the traffic. So these algorithms used on version 1 to encrypt my data, right? But SSH version 2 use AES, DS, and 3DS to encrypt the data, right? So normally AES is used nowadays or alias 250, something like this, right? So these keys are more preferred for security reasons. Okay, encrypt the traffic. That is the first point. And the second point is there is no hash calculation. Okay, so like that means hash is a value like 01 acf, something like this. For an example, hash value is 32 acfd. Okay, 01, these are kind of hash values for an example. So this device is not calculate, sorry, this version is not calculating the hash values. Okay, so hash values are calculated in your version 2 to give you more security. So both end server and client both can calculate their hash value and share the hash value in SSH packets for comparison, right? So hash value is for security, to give you more security. So we have here hash calculation. Okay, and now last thing is client shares the keys. Okay, in the data transmission, so that time devices shares the key. So we have to generate the keys and then they shares the key. But in SSH version 2, Diffie Hellman, wait a minute, what is the name? It's not Hellman, maybe this one. So Diffie Hellman is used to generate the keys and exchange them, right? So we are using Diffie Hellman, which have a complicated calculation mechanism to exchange the keys and to generate the keys. So that's why we are preferring the SSH version 2 instead of SSH version 1. Is that clear to everyone? Guys, I think that the difference
Yes.
between SSH version 1 and 2 is clear to everyone. Maybe there are more reasons. If you explore the Google, you will get more and more. So these are the like most like things that I know and share with you, right? So you no need to explore more in detail. That is enough. But now, if you check, there are few things because SSH version is into divided multiple versions. Like if you know version 1.5, version 1.99, if you heard about that. Anyone heard about that? Okay, let's talk about first of all open standard. Okay. So if I talk about open standard devices or open standard SSH, like SSH is open standard, but on open standard devices or open standard platform, or if I'm talking about on Cisco. So SSH version 1 we have here, right? And here we have SSH version 1.5. Okay, on Cisco you will get 1.5, but the thing is same. Here it's version 1.5, so that is here 1 point, sorry, open standard have SSH version 1, but this is considered as 1.5 in Cisco case. Okay, but the point is same, just the name is different. SSH version 1.5. Okay, so this is here SSH version 1.99. Okay, and here we have SSH version 1.9, so that is considered as SSH version 2. So these are the normal differences between Cisco and open standard. Okay, but the thing is same. But now if I talk about where I can use version 1, where I can use version 1.5 and 1.9, like I'm talking about from a client and server point of view, because both must be compatible. For an example, if I'm using here one software on my device and I'm trying to access the R1, so if this is using SSH version 2, so which version is compatible on my device? Like, can I use here SSH version 1? or can I use here SSH version 1.5, or can I use here SSH version 1.99? Okay, or according to Cisco 1.5 and 1.99 and SSH version 2, right? So there is compatibility matrix according to that. And what is the compatibility matrix, guys? Let me write down. Okay, so we have SSH version 1, SSH version 1.5, SSH version 2, right? So if my client is version 1, this is your server, okay? And here we are talking about client. So client have SSH version 1. So version 1 can communicate with version 1 and 1.5, okay? And SSH version 1.5 can communicate with this also, and this also, and itself also. And SSH version 2 client can communicate with version 2 and version 1.5, but they can't communicate with this one, so that is not possible. And here also this is not possible. Okay, so version 1 cannot communicate with version 2 directly. Okay, but 1.5 can communicate. If your server have 1.5, so both can communicate with version 1 and 2. So that is possible. So now you can ask here one question, like, you know the difference between SSH version 1 and SSH version 2, right? And we discussed here like version types 1, 1.5 and 2. So how can just give me a minute, guys, just a minute. Okay, now if this is clear, we can move further, guys. If any doubt, please, you can ask. We will see these things during the practical, how we can use SSH version 1 on client side, how we can configure SSH version 2 on server side, right? So the second point is, all these SSH version you can enable using the keys, right? So all above SSH versions we can enable on device using the key size, right? So we can define the key size on our router. So according to the key size, router will start using version 1, version 2 and version 1.5, right? So there are multiple keys. If we enables the 768 bits, okay, or you can say we enable lower than 768 bits, okay, on router or device, then it will enable SSH version 1, or which is according to Cisco version 1.5. Is that clear to everyone? So that means whenever I'm going to enable the key, so these are the RSA keys. Which keys, guys? RSA keys. So RSA means like three. Actually, RSA is name of three person who invented this features, who invented this key system. So let me show you what is the name of RSA keys. Okay, just a minute. So RSA, according to that, keys are generated public and private. So actually, I heard somewhere about those who invented this process. So there was a name.
Are sir, are these sir hashing key or what key, sir?
Yeah, these are the hashing key. Actually, RSA is method where generates the keys. Wait a minute, I'm checking the name. RSA full name. Seriously. No, it's not giving me the exact answer. So basically, RSA is a standard which helps to generate the keys. So we have to enable RSA to generate keys on our device. But Diffie-Hellman is the way to exchange the keys. One is the method which generate your keys, right? So according to RSA, they generates the key, and Diffie-Hellman used to exchange the keys between the devices. Okay. So if I'm talking here about RSA, so we have to define RSA key size. So if I'm defining key size lower than this value, it will enable my version 1, or according to Cisco 1.5. Okay. And if key size is above 768, okay, then it enables version 1.5. Okay, and on Cisco, what will be the version, guys? 1.99, right? 1.99. And for version 2 we need to enable manually version 2. Okay, so we have to give command to enable version 2 on device, then you will see. Okay, so we can configure a command to enable the version 2, but these are here according to the keys. Is that clear, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is all about the theoretical portion of SSH, like what we discussed, why we are using SSH, and we discussed about the SSH version, right? So we discussed here about SSH, what is SSH, and version of SSH. Okay, and according to standard wise, what is the actual version? Version 1, 1.5, or 1.9. And now we discussed about how we can enable the version. So version is actually dependent on your size of key. So if you define the key size, according to that it will enable the version. But the point is, what are the commands we can use on a router or any network device which enables SSH? So let's start with the configuration part now, guys. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Anyone? Okay. Amit, Ravi, Kenel, is that clear to everyone?
Yes,
Santosh?
sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, guys. If you have any doubt, please you can ask. Okay. You no need to hesitate. So basically, these are the minimal configuration according to me. In first step, okay, steps to configure SSH. Okay. So first of all, we need to define the domain name. Define the domain name on device. So we have to define the domain name, okay, and host name also, okay. Configure the host name. Why? Because the reason is device use domain name and host name to calculate the key name. So whatever as such key name that is calculated with domain name, host name, okay. So by default device use domain name and host name to calculate the key, but if you want you can change that, you can give the name manually, but that is the by default procedure on device. If I configure RSA key, so RSA key need a domain name and host name. If I don't have host name on my router and I don't have domain name on it, so it will give me error to configure the domain name and then host name, right? So whatever sequence you can use, these are the mandatory things, okay. After that, configure the RSA key and size of the key, okay. So we need to configure the key and we can configure the size of it, and accordingly it will configure the SSH version on device, okay. And the last thing, we need to define the username and password. So username password both are mandatory. So in the case of Talent, I have not configured username and password, if you remember, right? But in the case of SSH, username password is mandatory. Okay, so this must be defined. And the last, allow the SSH to log in the device under line VTY. So under line VTY, we need to allow the SSH. Okay. And one more thing, under line VTY, we need to define device must access or device must ask about username and password instead of password. Like define this command under line VTY. And what is the command, guys? Login local. Login local, it will ask for username and password. If you remember, I defined login only, right? Last time at the time of telnet, and login only ask about password, right? So if you have configured login command with under the line VTY, guys, if you check show run pipe section line VTY, so you can see we have configured here login command. Login means it will ask about password only. It will not ask about username. So we need username and password for SSH connection. So that's why I need to define here login local. Login local means it will ask for username and password. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the configuration is pretty simple, but let's start with the configuration part. If these 6 steps clear to everyone. Okay. I guess it's clear to everyone. So let's start with the configuration part. So now I'm on R2 router. Okay. So R2 router have host name already, right? But domain name is not configured. So this is the first command. Okay, these are the commands. Let me configure here so you can remember. Every command is in global mode. Okay. IP domain name, like we are giving cisco.com, okay. And we have to define here host name also, which is already configured. Host name is like R2. And after that, the command is crypto key generate RSA. Okay, after that we need to define the key that is in bits. Like I can define, if I'm going for SSH version 1, I can define 760, right? And I need to define here username, admin. I can define my privilege level 15, or otherwise I have to define enable password. Also, password is Cisco. Under the line VTY, what I need to do? Just a minute. Okay. Okay. And the next command is underline VTY, and the command is transport in SSH, and next is login local. Okay, so these are the commands which requires to configure SSH. Okay, is that clear, guys? Okay, so let's start here. If I'm giving here directly this command crypto k generate RSA. So you can see, please define a domain name first. So that means domain name is required. Then you can configure IP domain name. Okay, domain name is cisco.com. Okay, and host name is already configured. So I'm using the same command. Now you can see the name of the keys will be host name and the domain name. So the key name is here host name and domain name. That's why we define domain name here. Okay, but you can configure manually. If you don't want to give domain name, I will also tell you the same command. The command is same, we have to just add few more words with it, right? Okay, and after that choose the size of the key modules in the range of from this to this for your general purpose keys. Okay, choosing the key module greater than this made, like we can define the key module, and accordingly device will give the version. So suppose I am giving here lower version, right, like this one. So you can see generate 760 bits RSA keys. Okay, and this is giving you version 1.5, which is version 1, which is version 1 of SSH, right? 1.9 is version 1.5. So which we discussed here according to Cisco. If you scroll, see, so this is version 1, right? Version 1.5 and version 2. Now device is configured with this command, right? And if you check show crypto key, wait a minute, my pub key, RSA. Yeah. So you can see the keys are visible here, right? So this is our key name, and this is key that is generated by device. Okay. So the keys are generated, and now I can go for third command, which is username and password, right? Username, admin. I can directly configure password, but I need to define enable command as well. Okay. Cisco enable password is also Cisco, right? Underline VTY. I need to define transport protocol, transport input, SSH, and login local. So we configured all the commands, and if you want to check, show run. So we configured the host name. Okay, enable command is visible here, and domain name is configured on device. Okay, username password also visible, and after that we configured the SSH. So SSH configuration under line VTY. Okay, crypto command is not visible here. That is for key generation. We did that. And now if I try to take SSH connection from R1, what I can do? SSH. Okay. So here I have multiple options at the time of SSH. I can use hyphen for the username. I can use hyphen V to specify the version. So right now, if I'm going to specify my version, like this is my version and version 2, right? Hyphen L, after that my username is admin, and IP address. So you see, the connection is aborted. What is the reason the connection is aborted? Debug, wait a minute, IP SSH, client, yeah, let me try again. See, what we are getting here, we are getting SSH version mismatch. So according to that, whenever we are trying SSH version 2 to access the device 12.2, so where we have right now SSH version 1, so version is not compatible, you can't use that, right? So version ID is 1.5. Okay, Cisco is 1.25, whatever it is. So that means we have failure in protocol version mismatch. Okay, so if we try to use version 1 instead of 2, we can see, we can easily access the device and see the protocol version exchange is successfully, right? Okay, the SSH public key message received. Okay, and key message sent, and keys are exchanged successfully, because in version 1 they exchange the key, because Diffie-Hellman is not there, right, in version 1. So right now we can put the password and we have access of the device, right? Is that clear, guys? So we have access the device, and show user, you can check. Wait a minute, show users. Yeah, this is the command. So you can see in line VTY number is 2, user is admin, and user IP address is 12.1. So R1 IP is 12.1, and R1 using username admin to access the device R2. The connection is established successfully. The connection is established, guys, successfully. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. So now if I try to configure, let me exit the session first. Okay. So we drop the session. And now what I'm trying to configure the key again. So already key is defined. So key name is this. So still you want to replace them? Yeah, I want to replace them. So now I can configure another key. So your old version is disabled. So you are eligible to configure a new version. So if I want to configure here 1024 for an example, so what version I will get here in this case? Version 1.9. So version 1.9 is enabled, right? Okay. So this is version 1.5. So if I try to access this version from my client, like if I'm trying version 2, still I'm getting access, right? Because if you remember, I told you this is version 1.5 and 1.5 is compatible with version 1 and 2 with both versions. So I tried with version 2 and we are eligible to access it, right? Okay, if I try to exit it and let me try with version 1, it must be accepted. Yeah, we can see with version 1 also we are getting the prompt to access the device. Let me do one thing. Okay, undebug all because we are getting the notifications. So this is version 1 command we tried and we are getting the access of R2. Okay, and other command was for version 2, this one. So we are also getting here access. So in both case, if server have version 1.5, we can access from version 1 or version 2. I think this is clear to everyone. Is there any doubt,
So,
guys?
so version 1 is not using Diffie-Hellman, and
Yeah,
sir, version 1.5 is using Diffie-Hellman. So, sir, means how they are means compatible. The data will be
because
shown in
my
TCP packet.
server is using version 1.5, not version 2 or not version 1. So client, we are trying from client version 1 and version 2. So 1.5 is compatible for both. That is the reason. But if you are directly using version 2 or version 1, then both are not compatible. Okay, that is the reason. Because on server, I'm not using version 2, I'm using version
one nine
1.
nine.
Yeah, 1.5. Just a minute.
Okay, means sir, if I have the R2 is the client or R1 is the server, then in that case we can not do that, na?
Uh, just allow me a minute. I'm coming. Okay. Yes, huh? You can ask now.
Means sir, if server have SSH version 1 and client have version 1.5, then can client access the server?
Actually, client is not giving option for 1.5. Only server is giving you. If you check, we have only two versions here. Okay, so like you can use directly key exchange in version 1 with server in version 1 or 1.5. But if you are using version 2, then they will start using Diffie-Hellman from client end. So this version 1.5 is compatible for both. You can exchange key directly or you can use Diffie-Hellman. So this is open for both at that time, right? But if I will restrict it
In
like IP as such version 2 command, so it will start using only Diffie element at that time. That means we defined version 2 on router. And if I try the command this time, it will abort my session. Okay.
or in real world, are we still using SSH1, sir?
I don't think so because SS version 1 have multiple challenges like
Okay, sir.
security issues. Anyone can break the key. So Diffie-Hellman
Okay.
is using an IPsec. So IPsec is also using Diffie-Hellman. That means the key exchange method is very difficult, or you can say in a way anyone cannot find your public and private key. If I'm telling you, like two devices are there and both are exchanging Diffie-Hellman, so they are just using random values at the time of exchange. For an example, let me explain like this. Okay, this is the one router, right? Or client or server, you can say. This is R2. If they are using Diffie-Hellman, right? So like they have one public key and they have one private key, and here also they have public key and private key. So normally they share their public key with each other, right? And here R1 is going to add some other values in it, and R2 also going to add some other values and recalculate their another key with it, right? So whenever any attacker is trying to see the public key, still they can't track your data. Still they can't capture the data. Sorry, they can capture the data, but they can't see your data because whenever they are exchanging the public key, that is different value. But after receiving on both end, they are recalculating the value with another value, adding it, right? So now they have different value here. Like if they are exchanging A and B, so they are adding here value C and D in it, and now final is E and F value. So according to attacker, they are using A and B, which is during the packet exchange in Diffie-Hellman. But after adding their own values, what they receiving, like it's receiving B. So B plus C, they will calculate another value, right? And A and D going to calculate another value. So now Diffie-Hellman server and client is using E and F value to exchange the data or to encrypt your data. So that's why this is another method to generate your keys. So this is just an example, but actually how it's going to be happen, we will discuss in detail at the time of VPN, right? Because IPsec also using Diffie-Hellman concept during the key exchange. Okay. So right now, I think everyone gets the point. So if we are using different versions, how these are compatible, okay? So we have version 2. So version 2 is only compatible with version 2 and 1.5. So on client, we have two versions, 1 and 2. So if my client is using, I'm talking about the client. So client have two options, version 1 and 2 on our router. So this is compatible with version 1, 1.5, and 2 also have two options compatible with 1.5 and 2, right? So that is the communication. If they try to connect with others, that is not possible. Okay. Is there any
Hmm.
confusion, guys, in SSH version 1 and 2?
Hmm.
Okay. So there is one more thing in SSH, like I defined the keys, I defined the domain name, crypto key. What is the meaning of this command? So this command is used to remove your current key, whatever is calculated last time. So you can use this command to remove the keys. Okay, if I use the okay, show crypto key, my pub key RSA. So you can see there is no key, right? So now I can try one command. Okay, I will show you something. Crypto key generate RSA. So if I'm using 761, so which version it will enable on the device? Any idea?
Version 2.
Okay,
6160.
wait a minute. I explained something here. Just
Sir,
hold on.
more bits means higher, more higher version.
Okay, see, I
Oh.
explained something, but I want to show whatever is
And
not
one.
written here. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to define lower bits, so it will enable version 1, right? Or Cisco 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm using here right now 761. So accordingly, which version we will see? This version, right, on Cisco router. That what
Mm-hmm.
that we are expecting, right? So let's see what version we are getting. What is the version? Okay, my command is already configured by mistake. Let me remove it first. Okay. Crypto key generate. Yes, I want to replace it. 761. Okay. So I disabled the version 2 with the command. Okay. And then I configure the command again and we replace the keys. Okay. And I defined my key 761. But this time we are getting 1.99. That means version 1.5. But I explained about that. If we have 768 lower bits, if we have 767 like this, still we will get version 1.5. So we were about to see 1.5 on the CLI, but we are getting version 1.99, which means version 1.5. Okay, according to open standard. And we are getting here this one, not this one. Why? Because that octet contain from 1 to 8 bits. That means 7612 above bits. So this octet contains some bits. According to that, if you enable 761, still you are getting which version? 1.5. Okay, so you have to configure 76 bits. At that bit you will get version 1 only. Okay, so maybe that is not given in the book also, so you have to be clear about it. So that is because of some octets, because maybe bits are part of the same octet. That's why whenever I try to configure this value, still I am getting version 1.5, or you can say according to Cisco 199. Okay, so let's call it 1.5. Let's not be confused. But if I try the same command again, and this time I'm using here 760, so at that time you will get 1.5 or version 1. See, okay, so if you use 760 bits, then only you will get version 1. Otherwise you will see version 1.5. So guys, any doubt in SSH versions, how to enable it, how to configure it? Okay, there is one more command that, let me explain you. Crypto key generate RSA label. So we have here little key pair label like my key. Okay, I can use my key, I can generate my own key with my name. So label means you want to define your name. You no need host name, you no need domain name. So it will choose accordingly. Okay. And this command, I guess you have to define in SSH as well, like which key you want to use, which key you want to use, IP, SSH. Wait a minute, I need to check the command. Pub keychain. I guess this command. Wait a minute. Version server RSA key pair name. Okay, so here you can define the key pair name, which key you want to use for SSH. So that how you can define your key. Okay, so it will not use the last key, it will use this key. And if you try, we enabled this version on R1. Okay, I can try with this one. Yeah, we can use, because version is 1.5 on server side. If client use version 1, still this is compatible. Okay guys, so I think SSH is clear to everyone. If you have doubt here, please let me know.
So, but
Where we
just
will
now you
get the
have
document?
created.
Okay. Yeah, like after that, there is nothing to discuss in SSH. Okay. So we can move with the next topic. So here we just discuss about telnet and SSH. And if you want
Where
to see the captures, wait a minute. I think I have to recapture for SSH. Sorry, are you asking something, Canon?
where we will get the document?
Sorry, I'm not getting your point. Could
The
you repeat?
document. Where we will get them? The document.
Oh,
The
you are
PDF.
asking about the notes.
Notes and
Yes.
books, sir. Yes.
Okay, notes and books. Okay, I will talk to the management team and we will share with you. We will see how we can share. Okay, the books and the notes.
All right.
Sir, I
Okay.
have a question, sir, here.
Yes, yes, please.
Sir, firstly, you have created the SSH key with host name and domain name.
Mhm. Right.
And sir, and you bind that key with a particular user, suppose a user.
Okay.
And sir, after that, you have created one more key with the name my key.
My key. Right.
Okay, and we can bind that key with another user. Is this possible, sir?
No, it's not with user actually. It's with SSH only. So like which key SSH can use to exchange with version 1 or with Diffie-Hellman. So that is not with user. Actually, that is with SSH version only. So you are giving this key to SSH to exchange with the client or server. So this is not user specific. Okay. So I can't define like this user can use this key. No, that is not possible. Because
Sir,
user
at,
no need any key, device need key for data encryption.
sir, so at a time we can create more than one key in SSH or only one key, sir?
We
Means
can
in a
create
router.
multiple key on a router, but for maybe those are for different purposes, different purpose, not only for SSH, because there are multiple things on a device we can configure, and everything need keys, like for VPN, for something else. So there are multiple ways to generate the RSA keys, okay, with different size, but only one key or one pair of key you can use with SSH version, so that you can define.
Okay, sir. And one more thing, sir, just after sharing the public key with each other, they are creating their own key, just you have said like E and F. So, sir, that E and F will remain forever or they expire, sir, also?
No, those keys actually they refresh the keys. So like
Okay, sir.
normally they refresh their keys. If I will explain in VPN, like every key
Okay,
have
sir.
their timers. Like if you know in IPsec there is phase 1 and phase 2. So in phase 1 they have different timers for keys, and phase 2 have different timers. Like phase 1 have 24 hours and phase 2 have 1 hour. So after every 24 hours they regenerate the keys for security reasons. Like if anyone get your key, so after 24 hours you must refresh it, you re-exchange it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so the next topic is like we discussed here about to access the device through CLI, right? So is there any possibility we can access the network routers or Cisco iOS devices through GUI? Like there are two ways to configure the device, right? To configure the device, the first we can use CLI mode, right? And second is graphical user interface. So I'm talking here about Cisco iOS devices, right? Cisco iOS device, I'm talking about normal router and switch. Those are the devices, right? Cisco router and switch. So is there any way we can take the HTTP access or GUI access of the device? Any way to access the device GUI? So GUI is accessible through which protocol, guys? Any idea? Like telnet as such is used for CLI access, If I talk about GUI access, which protocol normally we use for any GUI device?
HTTP.
HTTPS.
And HTTPS, right? So, do you know the difference between HTTP and HTTPS?
Secure and secure.
S is for secure. It using SSL, sir.
That is not secure, right?
Yeah.
And if you talk about HTTPS, this is secure. Why? Because this is using
SSL.
SSL version 1.2, right? Previous version was TLS version 1.2. So where they generate the keys, also they exchange the keys, right? Okay. So this again we will discuss at that time of SSL handshake. Okay, in VPN, how we use SSL to handshake or to exchange the keys. Okay. So right now we have option to configure HTTP or HTTPS on iOS device. But after that, you will see CLI is better than this GUI. Why? I will show you why. So let's start with the configuration. If you want to configure, you can configure. That is also option we have. Okay. But again, I recommend you to use the CLI mode on iOS devices. Okay. So let's start with the configuration. So again, we need to enable HTTP and HTTP features, okay, on our router. And we have already username and password, so I no need to define username and password. But again, I'm telling you, this username and password will be not acceptable. Why? To define the ST or to access the device through HTTP or HTTP access, device must have full privilege for this username and password. Full privilege means complete access. So I need to define again. Okay. So whenever I'm going to access my device, so it must have full privilege. Only at that time we will get HTTP. Okay. So I defined here privilege level 15, which means it have complete access of the router. Okay. Again, other devices router. So I will configure it later. Okay. And what I need to do, I need to enable IP HTTP server. Okay. IP HTTP authentication local. So these two commands I have to define, and the privilege level also with username and password. So after that, my HTTP is enabled. Show HTTP status. Wait a minute. IP HTTP server status. Okay. So we can see HTTP server status is enabled. By default, this is disabled on a router. So we have enabled it through this through above command. Okay, and we have given local authentication, means local username password can access the device through HTTP. But to take the GUI of the device, I need to access this router with my laptop directly, because other router can't take GUI, right? Or I have to use some Windows device inside it. So what I can do, I can configure another interface and I can connect it with my management adapter. So this management cloud that is connected with my this network, which is part of my virtual adapter. And here I have multiple virtual adapters. So I'm using these two. So I have to check which network I'm using. So whenever you will install the VMware, so it have 214, not this one. Maybe this is adapter 5. Yeah, it's 130, right? So I'm using 130 subnet. So I have to use this one. So management is this adapter for me. So I have to save it, and I can connect one interface with it. Okay, Ethernet 0 by 1. And I will configure directly, or my VMware is acting like DHCP server who will give IP to my router. So I can get IP from DHCP also on R2. So show IP interface brief. IP is configured different. So what I'm going to do, Ethernet 0 by 1, no IP address, IP DHCP client, right? Wait a minute. IP address DHCP. Okay. So let's see. Wait. It will get IP address. Okay. See, the device is getting IP address 130.128 because the VMware this tool is acting like me DHCP server because in the setting of this DHCP server is enabled, which is giving IP to my virtual machine, okay, and also to my router because I'm connected with the same virtual network. So the management network belongs to this one. So I'm getting the same network IP address, okay. So this IP address is visible here, and you can see the log message is giving the IP address, okay. And now let me try to ping R2 from my laptop. Ping 192.168, 130.128, and I'm able to ping it, right? So that means I can take remote key of the router. So what I have to do? HTTP 192.130.128. So see, the device is asking about username and password, which is admin and Cisco. So whenever I configure the device, so I will get this type of GUI access. I think, wait. Okay. This is visible to everyone, right? Okay. You can see we have diagnose logs, monitor router. Wait a minute. There must be some where we can configure the commands. Execute ping command. Okay. Monitor the router. Okay. Let's try. So we have here home exact. So exact means in privilege mode what you can do, right? If I'm trying to ping 12.1.1, so we can see in the output I'm able to see we are able to ping 12.1, right? And command is completed successfully. Show IP route. If I want to check the routing table, so I have to put here commands like CLI. So basically if you try to access the GUI of the router, still you are getting the CLI, right? So that's why I told you you can take the GUI of the router, you have option, but doesn't mean still it's like CLI. Okay. If you want to configure anything, you can go into the configuration, and in configuration, if you remember, we can configure the IP access list, right? IP access list one. Okay. Wait a minute. I need to define standard also. IP access list standard. So you can see we moved inside the ACL. So this command is configured successfully, and now we have option to configure here permit and deny. So if I want to permit something like permit host 12.1.1, okay. So the command is configured successfully, and now I want to deny everything, deny any and log. So we configured, right? So configuration is done here. Now in execution, I can reach and I can check show IP access list. So you can see the configuration is done here. So that how you can configure on graphical user interface. I think this is easy, but like commands are same, right? The graphical user interface are just same as your CLI. Okay, guys, any doubt till now? So this is your HTTP protocol. So you can use HTTP also. Like let me tell you how to configure IP HTTP secure server. So this is the command. Okay, it will also generate some keys or some certificates because some digital certificates are also used. and we can use no HTTP server or IP HTTP server. Okay, just a minute. Am I audible to everyone? Hello, guys. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So till now we discussed about HTTP and now we configured HTTPS. Okay, this is the command. Fail to generate self-certificate server is temporary. Okay. Show HTTP, show IP, HTTP. Okay, it will not show the secure server, I guess. Okay, the HTTP is disabled, HTTPS is enabled if you check, right? So in the same command, you will see both. And now if I try to access it, wait a minute, I'm not getting. So I have to reconfigure HTTPS 192.168.130.128. It must be accessible. Wait a minute. Error occurred during the connection. Can't communicate securely with peer. Encryption algorithm issue. Okay, let me try with another browser. No, it has certificate issue, I guess. I run the same command again on R2. Fail to generate the. Let me try. Wait. Crypto key. Save. Okay. Just a minute. It has generated the key, but maybe I have some certificate issue or router is not giving. Actually, we need certificate for device as well because of mismatch. Otherwise, it will use. Okay. So, but there is, uh, you can say no logic behind it if we are using HTTP or HTTPS for GUI of the device, right? Because normally we need GUI for those devices are basically configured through GUI. If we talk about, we can use Cisco next generation firewall, we can use Cisco next generation IPS, or we can use like Cisco IS and other devices. So those are used for GUI, right? Those are configured through GUI. So that is the reason. So that's all about how to access a router through CLI and GUI. So till now, if you have any doubt, please you can ask. Then we can move with another topic. Amit, Ravi, Siva, everyone, Kenil,
Yes.
Arun, Sankar. So is that clear to everyone? Okay. So the next topic is, but we can't complete this topic today because this topic is about role-based access list. Okay. Guys, you know about role-based access list? Okay. Let me clear it in simple words. How to control the user's access on device. So that means I'm talking about to control the access of the device. Access means there are two things. First thing is authentication. Authentication means, what is the meaning of authentication, guys? Who is trying to
Try to connect.
log in the
Okay.
device, right? Yeah, that means I'm talking about here username and password, right? So I can define the username and password, but how could I make sure what user is going to be configured? What user is going to be configured? So that is with authorization. That is with authorization. Authorization means what user can
Access.
configure the configure on the device. Like I'm saying, user can configure IP address on a router. User can configure routing protocol on a router, right? User can configure ACL on a router. So that is authorization. That means you have given the access to user. Okay. And after this access, what user can do on a device? Maybe in my network, I'm talking about I have three types of engineers, right? So in my NOC network, okay, NOC team have three types of engineers. One is L1. I am talking about L1 engineers. Those have limited access on the device. Just to troubleshoot, you can say about the show commands. So they can just check everything, like what is the IP, what is the configuration, okay, like what is the ACL. So they have limited commands, but only show commands, just for output, just for monitor purpose, okay. And I have some resources belong to L2, and L2 can, they have show commands. They have also limited configuration command, okay. Configuration is like they can set and no set the interface, okay. They can configure ACL, but they can't configure routing protocol, right? And in my L3 team, I have 2 or 3 engineers. Those have full access of device. Full access means they can configure anything, they can delete anything, right? So all these things I can control with my authorization. So I have to control the authorization, right? And how we can control that? So the first option that we have is role-based access list. That we have role-based access list. So in role-based access list, I can control the authorization for a particular user. So here I'm talking about privilege level. Here I'm talking about, guys, privilege level. Okay. So privilege level is giving you authorization on a device. Okay. So the levels are 0 to 15. These are the privilege levels. Okay. So we have 2 type of privilege levels. The first one is defined. Defined levels. Defined levels are 0, 1 and 15. Okay. And second, we have customized. Customized are those can be defined by user from 2 to 14. From 2 to 14. So we have these three levels by default on a router if you want to check. Okay. And according to these three labels, we have defined of commands. We have defined of commands. Okay. So if I talk about here, level 0 have limited show commands. So we have limited show commands to check the configuration. Maybe have you show IP address command, okay, but you can't check show running configuration. Maybe you can't check show version, right? So in 0 level, you have very limited information to check or to output, right? So after that we have level 1. Okay, level 1 have all show commands but not configuration commands. Okay, and level 15 have full access of device. So you can configure anything with level 15. Level 15. Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
So are you getting my point? What is privilege level? What is role-based access list? Role-based access list is giving you idea what you can do on a device. So in privilege level, we have multiple levels like level 0, level 1, level 15, right? So that means whenever I was trying to log in on the device, like right now I am on R1. If I'm going to exit it, right? Wait a minute. The problem is, okay, let me try to take SSH. Telnet is allowed. Telnet is not allowed actually. Yeah, let me configure Telnet on R2. Line VTY, transport input all, okay, Telnet and SSH. So here, if I try to take Telnet, my mistake, username password is configured and which have privilege level 15. So I configured login. Oh my gosh, it will stuck now. Yeah. Wait a minute. What I can do? Clear line 2. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, connection is refused. Now it's asking password. Password is Cisco. So you can see show privilege level, right? So whenever I configured this command show privilege, so it will give me idea in which privilege level I am here. I am in privilege level 1. So according to privilege level 1, you can do question mark and you can see these are the commands which we can configure or which we can use. So these are the limited commands, right, in privilege level 1. But whenever I'm going to use enable, that means I'm asking for level entry. So I'm in privilege 15 and password is Cisco. Show privilege, and here I have privilege level 15. So 15 have now more commands. You can see these are the more commands comparing your level 1, right? You can see you have more options. Getting the point? If I'm trying to exit again, telnet, Cisco. So here I can use show IP interface brief. So this command I can use. But if I try to use show run command is not visible here. That means running configuration is limited because running configuration is talking about full configuration of device. Like whatever you configured, routing protocol, IP address, right? And your password types. So everything is running configuration. So that command can't be part of privilege level 1. But you can just check normal IP address. Maybe you have version command, yeah, you can check the device version also, right? Like this is the version of the device, but every command is not available here. Okay, so privilege level is giving you idea how much control do you have on your device. So if basic thing is clear about privilege level, Just tell me yes. Otherwise, you can ask questions. Guys, any doubt?
That's why.
Okay, so if there is any doubt, let me know. Kenil, Siva, Sankar, Arun, Amir, everyone, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes, Kenil. Do you have any question?
Not yet.
Okay, great. So, like, just we started with the privilege level. So, just I explained about privilege level, okay, in this lecture. So, we will continue with privilege level in tomorrow
Strong.
class, and we will start configuring on device, like how I can create multiple users, right? And how can every user part of different privilege level with different commands of access, okay? So that will be topic for tomorrow, and later on we will start with one more topic that is also related to role based access list, and then we will start with our another alternates, because these are not the actual solutions for network. There are